Sage Wanderer here, and welcome to Coffee Talk. My voice is going out. Welcome to Coffee Talk. So, all my singing this summer led to a case of laryngitis. I guess I can't say Coffee Talk anymore. I sound like a bird choking. Well, anyway, you know what we're doing here. I sing a lot this summer, and at some point I burned my voice out. So I'm all bassy now instead of having my tenor. I guess I could say, welcome to Coffee Talk. Hey, that's kind of funny. Welcome to Coffee Talk. Thanks to my viewer who gave me this coffee cup. And I do feel like I'm a member of the outreach team. We are reaching out. But today, we're talking about things that I find interesting but don't necessarily believe. And today, we're talking about alien technology. Dun, dun, dun. Did the world make a deal with the devil? Okay, so let's talk about the last 125 years of human existence. Since the beginning of time, humans have basically operated with the same technology: horse and buggy, chariot, horseback, wells, hand dug, um, just the basic necessities, agriculture, um, the, the farm life, the sustenance farmer. Civilizations in the past had some technology, like the Romans had their aqueducts, and they had their big semi-mechanical contraptions that they used in various parts of their life and existence. And the fact of the matter is, life has gone unchanged for most humans since Jesus' days, for sure, right up until the 1880s. Honestly, a thing called the Industrial Revolution was the first thing to change human life. For the first time in human existence, people were getting jobs. Jobs didn't really exist. You had a trade, or you were an agricultural worker, farmer, sustenance farmer. But to go and have a job where you get paid in money for work that you did at a factory or a plant or some kind of business was not really the way things worked in the past. Give you an example. Even as recently as the turn of the century, you can find this in architecture in almost every small town in America. That there are these 2 or 3 story buildings that are all along your main street in America, and these buildings have 3 stories for a purpose. And it's 2 or 3 stories. The building that the Brick House Saloon is in was a factory that made bib overalls back in the day, and now it's a multi-complex nightclub thing, and there's a lot of empty space there. I've been in the back of that nightclub because I'm friends with the owners and the staff, the owner and the staff, and so I've been back behind what you see when you come into the nightclub, and there's all of these catacombs, just hallways, and there's apartments, and so that was one of the first industrial revolution buildings that was built in around 1900 here in Shawnee, Oklahoma. But in a lot of your downtown areas, you have a shop on the ground floor, and then the second floor is where the people live that tend to shop. See, it used to be owner-operators ran all of your small businesses in the world, and they lived on site. If you had a problem with the product, you could wake the guy up in the middle of the night because he just lived upstairs, right? And so for hundreds, if not thousands of years, humans have lived with the same technology. They have lived the same kind of lives. And then something changed. Something radically changed. Like I said, it starts in the Industrial Revolution, but that might be explained away by human endeavor. Many people who disagree with what I'm about to share with you or present to you will say that human technology has advanced so rapidly in the last couple of hundred years because of a thing called exponential math. And I guess if you don't know what exponential math is, I'm not going to try to explain it to you because I barely am able to grasp exponential math. But there is one of these sayings. I mean, like a story or honestly, it's like a math problem where they give you the option of accepting $1 million up front, or they'll give you a penny times itself every day for a month. And the number at the end of the month, when you take a penny and double it every month, I mean every day, by the end of the month, ridiculously, it's a huge sum. It's a huge sum, and it's way more than $1 million. And anyway, if you guys know the formula, put it in the comments section, whatever. But I'm sure many of you have heard this example of exponential math. And they claim that the technology that we're now enjoying, that I'm using to communicate with you, that sent us to the moon, that it created the internet, that led to all of this tracking and surveillance that we now live with on a regular basis. And this technology, people say, is the result of exponential human knowledge. In other words, human knowledge was building for since the Ice Age, and up into the Industrial Revolution, we weren't benefiting apparently from our writings, from our teachings, from our way of life enough to make any significant changes in the day-to-day life of a human. But yet, in the last 150 years, we've seen this explosion in technology, and they say, well, all of that work through centuries has finally caught up to us, and now we're just, okay, exponential knowledge, not enough coffee for me to buy that story. Not enough coffee in Juan Valdez's barn to to make me swallow the idea of exponential knowledge being the reason why we suddenly have all this explosion in technology. So I would like to offer you an alternative. Alien technology. Did we make a deal with the devil? Don't, don't, don't. So UFOs and interactions with UFOs start happening around 1947 at Roswell, New Mexico. At 1947, we had the gasoline-powered engine. We had the steamship. We had the diesel engine. We had the electric lights. We were starting to get an understanding of radio frequencies and television and transmitting our consciousness across the airwaves. That was starting to happen by 47. And, I might buy exponential knowledge explaining our existence, or our change in life, rather, until 1947. But starting around then, technology explodes. The transistor, the microchip, advancements in radar, sonar, broadcast, satellites, space travel, right? The creation of the virtual world through technology, that I can appear to you sitting on my back porch in Sparks, Oklahoma, um, and you can see me in the Netherlands. You can watch me. What's crazy is we can interact in real time. My face and your face. It's like Star Trek up in here. Dum dum dum. Scotty, beam me up. Spock, what's up with all of this advanced technology? Technology that we don't understand. There's even an ailment that people have, that's a psychological ailment. They claim comes from the advancement of technology, that it can cause mental illness because everything changes so fast. Think about our parents who struggled. Those of us who are older, our parents struggled with setting the clock on the VCR so it always flashed 12 because they didn't understand the button pushing sequence enough. And part of that is technology was advancing faster than their ability to keep up. And so this is something that I have seen in my lifetime. Those of you who are young, you were born in the internet age, and you're clueless to understand this. You're clueless to understand what I'm talking about. At best, it's theoretical knowledge for you. But those of us who are older, we've seen this roll out in our lifetime. When I was a kid, I was the channel changer. I was the remote. We had a dial on our little oval-shaped television, and it was Little Sage Wanderer's job to go up there and turn the channel. When the old Marine said he was tired of that one, turn it to the other channel. The other channel that is, one of the three channels that we get through the airwaves and an antenna. And today, I watch broadcast television here when I absolutely have nothing else to do, which rarely happens. But I watch broadcast television here, and I get about 47 channels. But then they invented cable, satellite TV, and now everything is done on the internet. And you're watching me via internet television. And one could say I'm an internet television star. Don't, don't, don't. A minor celebrity. Enough that this new woman in my life is quite Twitter pated. Really, it just has to do with the fact that I lay it all out on this channel, and she fell in love with the man that she got to know. And the technology that allowed us to connect and realize we were soulmates, and to find this connection from 1,600 miles away, that this woman could spend 4 years getting to know a total stranger over an electronic transmission, is mind-boggling and impossible to even comprehend for older people and people who were born in the last century who have now passed on. If you were to resurrect them and show them what we're doing these days, how we're looking for love, how we're doing business, how we're being surveilled, how our rights are being trampled by this technology, they would be beyond able to even understand what's going on. So, did it come from aliens? There is a conspiracy theory thread that says we started trading certain things. I won't get into. Not trying to get demonetized here. Well, this is going to be demonetized. I'm always demonetized. I'm not trying to get kicked off the platform, all right, to talk about what it is they were trading for technology. But let's just say that when I was a little kid, no kids got kidnapped. No kids went disappearing. There weren't no Amber Alerts. There was nothing but really peace and prosperity in so many ways in the world. And for children, it was absolutely a wonderland. We ran loose. We rode our bikes all over town. Everybody was our parent, so nobody got out of line. And if they did, well, I'll tell you a quick story. When I was a little kid, I got in a rock fight, throwing rocks back and forth at another little kid. We'd rode our bikes down to the grocery store to get some candy for a nickel. Back in the day, right? You could get candy for a nickel, a bunch of candy, like a whole handful of candy for a nickel. And so we used to go down there and get candy, and we got in this little rock fight, as ornery, Oregon boys, Oregon Okies would do back in the day. And this rich man in a Cadillac was driving by, and one of these rocks skipped off and hit the fender of his Cadillac. Didn't make a mark, but he stopped the car and got out, and he ran over and grabbed the kids, and I'm the good kid. So when he said, "Yeah, you stop," all my friends ran away, and I stood there and went, "Yes, sir." This man grabs me by the arm, at which point I start actively resisting, because that's who I am, and if you're paying attention, you know that's who I still am. Grab me by the arm, and you're liable to be in for a real rodeo. And so was he, but, he outweighed me by a good 150 pounds. I was about 7 when this happened, and he made me tell him where I lived. And instead of putting me in the car, he just dragged me the 3 blocks to my mom and dad's house, and he rapped on the door. And my mom answered the door. And let's just say the look that she gave this man changed his attitude. He came there with an attitude. He was going to demand that my mom pay for the scratch. There wasn't really a scratch, but he was just going to we used to call it raise hell. But he was roughing me up, and my mama was not going to stand for that. And her 5-foot tall, probably 125 or 130 pound frame was no match for this big rich man in a suit. But that look she gave him was enough to send a grown man, running away. And he started backing up and apologizing as she stepped towards him to retrieve her son. But it gives you an idea of what it was like in the day. And then all of a sudden, now children disappear. They just vanish. And so there is a theory that we're trading something for this technology. For your technology that you got to sit and watch me, for the technology in your phone, for the technology on your TV, for the technology that's invading our homes on a daily basis, some things or someone was traded for this opportunity and this technology. And that right there ought to make you want to walk away from it. Just the thought of how they got it. That this kind of coincides with ancient history. Any of you out there who studied the Greek mythology, Roman and Greek mythology, might recognize that at one point there were individuals here who claimed to be gods, who had some kind of power that may have been, well, there's an old saying, magic is just technology that we don't understand yet. So it could be that these space aliens, or gods with a little g, came down here and they did not, in fact, have supernatural powers, but simply had technology that the locals did not understand. They had access to medicine, access to, I don't even know if I can say that word anymore. Medicines that prevent diseases and or cure them. And in those days, if you go back and this is the whole idea of a sacrifice, of a human sacrifice, or even a food sacrifice, or a gold sacrifice, that these offerings that were brought to these entities in this ancient time, they would bring a gift in exchange for good weather for their crops, in exchange for a cure for the disease that's killing their spouse. And many times, what the ancient aliens, okay, what these gods with a little g wanted was they wanted human sacrifices, they wanted animal sacrifices. And to me, that means they wanted meat. They wanted meat of every variety from the earth. And so the people in these ancient stories brought meat to these gods in exchange for medical help, in exchange for some technological help. There are things found in fossil records, like what appears to be a Swiss wristwatch embedded. You can look this up. It's part of the Ancient Alien series. Agree or disagree, they do a great job of uncovering these mysteries and showing them to us. And so, there's this basically, it doesn't say that it's a Swiss watch, but from all intents and purposes, it's a highly refined mechanical timepiece that was found clear back in the time when humans weren't even supposed to be there, like back in the dinosaur days. So, whether these entities have been coming and going from the beginning, or whether they have come back around, is a matter of it's a matter of like uh, semantics, really. Have they been here all along? There's some argument that the Watchers, that these aliens, demons, whatever you want to call them, interdimensional travelers, have been here all along. But they go through periods where they show up in the flesh. Dun, dun, dun. So this kind of ties in with another coffee talk on Nibiru, or Planet X. So one theory is this technology comes from Nibiru, or Planet X, that is occupied by well, I like to call them cosmic trash, and or demons, or gods with a little g. And these entities that live on Planet X, so if you don't know, this Planet X is supposed to exist with a really long elliptical orbit. Instead of going around the sun like our planet does and all the other planets in our solar system, this one in our solar system uh, rotates or orbits around our sun in a long elliptical loop that takes about 6,000 years to complete. So in other words, about every 3,000 years, they get close enough on one side of the loop or the other to really interact with us. And it's just a short little boat ride, or over a spaceship ride on over to the planet here, and they start to show up in person. And so, my theory, if you choose to accept it or not, who cares? That's what the coffee's for. Swallow the coffee. Swallow it. So my little theory that I'm presenting here is this technology that we have now has been traded. We've paid a huge price for it. There's a lot of kids on milk cartons. Back in the day, I remember the first kidnapping. It was the guy, John Walsh, his son, was kidnapped out of a Kmart in Florida. It was one of the first child kidnappings, and since then, it's just kids disappearing everywhere. And one theory is they're exchanging human sacrifices to these gods with a little g, who are giving us this technology that we now all enjoy and or are oppressed by. So you got Planet X. When it's out here on the far edge, humanity experiences a time of peace, serenity, and you might say a renaissance, a time of enlightenment, because these entities, which I believe are demons, the origin of demons, that live on this planet, when they're far away, they can only contact us through telepathy. So when they're far away, they put thoughts in your minds. It's the whole thing of an angel on one shoulder and a devil on the other, right? Unless you're in Las Vegas and there's a devil on each shoulder. This one's going, hey, let's get some prostitutes. And the other one's like, yeah, and some crack. Some people are just born with two devils and not an angel on one shoulder. But Yeah, the concept is they can communicate with us telepathically. They can teletransport. They can astral project their image. They can show up in phantom form like a poltergeist or a ghost or something like that. That's a whole nother topic for a coffee talk. But what we're talking about now is these entities, and are they or aren't they providing us with this technology for a fee? So when they're far away, they don't affect Earth, and we have a lot of peace and prosperity. But as they grow closer, their telepathic powers get stronger, and they're more able to then impact the minds of people. And then you start to enter in a time of evil or a dark age. And as they get closer, it gets worse and worse. Like what is it? Birth pains, like labor pains. Sound familiar? That they get closer to closer together and more extended in length until finally they're just one long labor pain, and it's on all the time until the baby is born. And so that's how it appears when they over time get closer and closer to Earth and get stronger and stronger in their ability to deceive us and trick us and mess with us and manipulate us. And I believe they get great pleasure out of our pain, our suffering, our anguish, and if they can get us to destroy each other, it's just a downright giggle for these alien demons. And so long about 1947, the theory is they started getting close enough to really interact with us and bring us technology in trade for things or people. And so they started trading. I can't got my hands up here. Trading with us, right? Starting in the 1950s, leading up to right now. And I did a video a while back that it was just a short monologue. It was a couple years back called "A New Dark Age is Rising." It got picked up by a lot of channels and rebroadcast, and I'm quite certain that AJ over there at the band dot what is you know what I'm talking about, AJ, the man who gets all bent out of shape. That yeah, I believe that he might have seen that video because he often talks about how we're in a new dark age is rising. A direct quote from that video. But I believe that starts to happen whenever you get these aliens closer to the planet. The closer they get, the more power they have, and eventually they can it's just a short little ship ride over from Nibiru. And from what I understand, people who believe in the Nibiru conspiracy theory says that the reason we can't see it in the night sky is because it approaches us from the other side of the sun, which absolutely is right on line with the theory of the elliptical orbit. And so people are saying that soon Nibiru will be visible around the edge of the sun. And once it gets to a point where it's on our side of the sun, between us and the sun, over to there to the side, that it'll become the brightest star in the sky. Reminds me of something in the Bible where they said there'll be a great sign in the heavenlies. Look for signs in the heavenlies. Will Nibiru become visible very soon? Dun, dun, dun! Are space aliens trading technology for favors of various sorts? Is this technology good for our lives and good for our existence and good for humanity as a whole? At one point, one could argue that these advancements in technology were amazing and they were huge advancements. But just in my lifetime, I've personally witnessed how these technologies are now being turned on us. I remember when there was no childhood cancer. When I was a little kid and a kid got cancer, doctors flew from all over the country or all over the world to this location to study this child with cancer because kids didn't get cancer. And now we have cancer wards just full of kids. What's up with that? This technology is also causing our people to utilize biological experimentation and cloning and chimeras. And, well, we all know what happened in that Wuhan lab now, don't we? Don't. You start mixing people and critters and getting your and creating minotaurs and wolfmen and stuff like that. Then it's going to release who knows what into the gene pool, as it were, or loose into the biological world. And then there's the whole idea that they're creating biological weapons to use in warfare, and that's what's happened to us recently. It's either being used on us or it's leaked out. accidentally. But either way, it ain't good, right? So one could argue that our technology is actually leading to our demise, and that we have become much less, not much more, from technology. And the technology that was meant to elevate us is actually oppressing us now. And they're using it to track you. They're using it to control you, and it's just going to get worse with the stuff. You know, our current commander in chief is actually clearly and openly abusing his authority. He's upped the ante on all of this technological surveillance and control. And soon you won't be able to walk out your front door without permission. And it's happening in places like England, where if you go out without their papers, which is actually on a technological device now they call a phone, then you don't get to go outside. And if you do, they're going to pound you. They're gonna rough you up. They're gonna feed you to the dogs. And this is happening. Wake up and smell coffee. Coffee talk. Coffee talk. I have to do it that way now because my voice is shot. Coffee talk. It's really hurt my singing voice. I just got to repair it. It's just going to take time. Have you ever torn a vocal cord? I think that's kind of what I did. Coffee talk. It's a whole different sound, right? So what do you think? Is this technology normal? Is this just a normal advancement in human life? Was this inevitable? The more we shared information and wrote information down, and the collective exponential growth of knowledge has created this explosion in technology? Or is this explainable by Nibiru, Planet X, demons, gods with a little g? Is Zeus and Apollo about to show up on the scene in real life, flying around in spaceships or flying carpets? It goes back to the ancient Indian text from thousands of years ago that discusses how these sky god people came down to Earth, dominated the human society, and then had a giant fight in the sky where they're throwing lightning bolts at each other, kind of like a missile or a ray, right? It sounds like technology to me. And so they had this big technological battle that there's actually pictures painted of, and it just looks a lot like a UFO sky war. And the humans of Earth just kind of sat around and watched the two sides fight out, because what ends up happening is when Nibiru comes into range with planet Earth, and it starts affecting planet Earth, and it starts turning its people into violent, vile creatures that resemble the demons more than the humans that God made, then the good guys show up and there's a fight. Battle of Armageddon. Don't, don't, don't. Jesus comes out of the sky with a host of angels behind him, with a sword in his hand, and you think that's some kind of spiritual, kind of Zen, kind of Jedi mind war thing that's going on there. But in reality, it sounds just like an army of technologically advanced crafts ran by aliens known as angels, coming to fight the other aliens known as demons over control of this earth. And so they reset about every 6,000 years. God's got to show up and thump these demons right in their actual physical nose and do some real physical damage and tear down their kingdom and get them off of this planet. And then we get reset for another period of peace and harmony. 1,000-year millennial reign. Dun, dun, dun. I always told you I'm about trying to survive this, because if I survive, if I stand in this evil day, and I survive the tribulation period and the end time and this war that we're talking about, and I manage to get through it, I get to be one of those that rule and reign with Christ for 1,000 years, which is the natural lifespan of a human being. Not 100 years, 1,000 years. That's how long we're supposed to live, and will live when we get these demon creature Nibiru aliens off our back and cleanse ourselves of this evil technology and go back to the roots of humanity, which is what makes us happy. Life on the farm makes us happy. Life in our house makes us happy. All right, we'll see you next time on Coffee Talk. Or Coffee Talk. I gotta go. I'm running out of battery. See you guys next time on Coffee Talk. What do you think? Aliens, demons, angels, our own evil hearts? What's up with the mess we're in, and how did we get here? You tell me, and I'm out of coffee. We'll see you next time on Coffee Talk.